The Dingers podcast is on the air. That's the second week in a row I've done that little Pat Hughes nod. How are you guys tonight?
I mean, I love that. You guys, I'm sure I've told you guys that that's like my favorite thing. I still get chills whenever I listen to Pat on the radio when he says that. I want to make a shirt. I want to make like a good shirt, like maybe with like Pat's face, like an artistic, illustration of Pat's face.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
I
mean, I someday, I don't know, maybe I'll hit up Pat on whatever email. What do you think Pat does? Probably email.
Probably regular mail. Regular mail.
Yeah, I could do that.
He would love to open a letter from you.
I mean, I could print out the illustration, say, Pat, hey, I'm the K Guys kid. Let's make a shirt.
Boom. You're in.
Yeah, I mean, on that note that we're on the air, I'm feeling good. Obviously, a strangely mixed emotions day for the country today. Somber. We can kind of touch on that, but overall, I mean, it was a good weekend. I had my first Little League coaching game.
Ooh,
Coached my first
nice.
Little League game. That's a better way to put it, on Saturday, and that was a lot of fun. Great kids, great parents. So excited to keep doing that this summer. Kevin, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. It's been busy. Finally got the kids' baseball season is over for us, and actually, a couple people chatting at us in the comments. One of the guys is Brady, who helped coach my son's team, and he's a Cardinals fan, which I'm sure we'll hear about over and over again. And we were over hanging out at their house.
We will not be discussing any of that.
No. And my wife and kids are still over at their house, and I'm heading back over there a little bit later. And then Crazy Gaming is actually my middle son commenting.
Yeah.
So I think he's watching live there on his iPad, having a good time. But it's been busy. It's hot. Today is ridiculously hot. We went for a walk at like 2 and just was dripping sweat. But I'm glad to be back on the mics. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while for you guys, for both of you. So
Mitch, how you doing?
Doing well. Spent the last week back in Northeast Iowa. We're moving back to Northeast Iowa, so just crazy times of like just super busy and packing. But it's fun. It's been good. Today was good to be back in Ames. Took in the 4th of July parade here at Ames. Got to see one of my good buddies that like probably made the biggest impact on me here for my time in Ames. Shout out Travis Pierce. So got to hang out with him, which was great. So it was just a good time of kind of just wrapping up things here before move back to Northeast Iowa. But yeah, it's been good. And yeah, so happy 4th of July, Independence Day. But we kind of do have heavy hearts of what happened in Highland Park. And I know Jake, he has family that was really close, that lives really close to what happened. And so just all that, man, it sucks. And we just pray for the community, pray for the people involved. And it just stinks. Stinks for all Chicago, stinks for our country, especially on today when we should be celebrating how great our country is. Right. And then we have to go through something like this. And it's like, it just stinks. So,
yeah.
Tough
day.
Not great.
I was hoping the Cubs would be able to pull out a win for us. It was looking good.
Yeah.
And then it suddenly looked not good. It got pretty quickly looked not good.
Right. And to come from Caratini.
I know, man. I know. That hurt. It kind of feels like Caratini has like a vendetta against the Cubs, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Whenever we play a team that he's on, it feels like Vic is out to get us. Which I know, like they talk about like revenge games, like somewhat jokingly most of the time, but it kind of feels like Vic has it out for the Chicago Cubs.
I do want to bring up, Jake, you have a really sweet hat on. Tell us about this hat.
So no free ads. I will plug the gang at Official League. They are a hat company that does limited releases every month. And this month they did a collaboration with Big League Chew. So you'll see the BLC in there. And I saw it and I thought it looked great. And I texted Kim, my fiance, and I said, how hard would you hit me if I bought another hat? And she said, do it. So I took that as a positive, and it was a positive. And then
Nice.
the next day, I hadn't ordered it yet, but the next day, Official League posted on their Instagram with this hat and a bag of Big League Chew next to it. And in the caption, they said, "In case you didn't catch it yesterday, this hat is the hat that all of the players wear on the Big League Chew packages." And I was like, take my money. Like, I couldn't order it fast enough. Yeah, there it is. So
Yeah.
this thing getting framed. Yeah, there I am.
Nice.
Right there.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just
I
like-
want that hat.
Right.
I'll put it in our chat so you can
Nice.
see. But I just like, it says Big League Chew on the back too.
Like across.
Yeah, just across like the opening. And I just was like, I mean, you guys probably get it too. Like, you were a little bit older than me, so like maybe it was like a little bit even more pervasive when you guys were playing baseball. But like,
Yeah, you couldn't play a game of baseball without Big League Chew.
Yeah, I grew up with that. Like, my dad would take me to the local convenience store. We'd bike there, and I'd get Big League Chew and a Slurpee. So
Nice.
yeah,
Yep.
so I had to have it. So thanks for pointing it out, Mitch. We were talking before the show.
Yeah.
We were talking about our hat collections. And,
Yeah, you only have 2 or 3, so Kim was
just
had
2
no
or 3
problem.
times
Yeah.
10. Yeah.
Yeah,
You know,
I mean,
nothing too serious.
yeah, my wife gets super upset with me whenever I buy a new hat. We were back in Northeast Iowa going through stuff, and I mean, I have so many hats and so many like retro old Cubs hats from like the 80s. Like, I found this one like bright yellow Cubs hat that then was like in pink, was like lines in pink, and then I had the Cubs C in red.
Ooh.
And then it was like, I was like, dude, she like was wanting to throw it out. I was like, no, like that's worth money. Like,
Yeah,
or
you gotta
like,
wear that
I
on
want
an
to rock it.
episode.
Yeah, I'll wear it.
You've got to wear that on an episode. I want to see it.
I found this shirt, which is a 1989 Eastern Division National League
my God,
champion
that's
shirt
great, too.
while we were
Wow.
going through stuff. And so it's like, I mean,
You need to do a
vintage
little
stuff.
bit
I'm
of
like,
a hat carousel. Like every episode for like the season, it's a different Cubs hat.
I could do it. We could do it. We could rock it.
Yeah, I've got quite a few Cubs hats too. But that's the other thing too. It's like where when I first started on the podcast, I wore like Cubs stuff every time. But now I'm like, no. I'm on a Cubs podcast, so
Right.
obviously I'm a Cubs fan. I've got the 69 infield behind me.
Mhm.
Like, I don't need to wear a Cubs hat every time. So yeah, I broke this guy out today.
Nice.
Well, I might start rocking
hat- or
old
what
vintage
hat are
Cubs
you
hats.
sporting, Kevin?
Oh, I got my Toppling Goliath hat.
Oh,
Toppling
that
Goliath.
was an
There we go.
unintentional segue, but
Yeah, yep.
Actual legit ad right there.
yeah,
Right.
Toppling Goliath.
Yeah, and
Decorah,
I just-
Iowa. Get your beer.
Yeah. And I just opened my double dry hop pseudo Sue for my cracker beer player of the game. I got a little thirsty, so I went ahead and opened it early.
I want to partake so badly, but I had a long, late night for a friend's birthday on Saturday evening, so I will not be having a beer right now.
Yeah, same. I had mine earlier. So with my buddy. So we gotta take it easy tonight. We gotta work out tomorrow. So no Toppling Goliath for me tonight, but I did have some earlier, and had some Dorothy's this weekend,
Ooh, nice.
which was really
Classic.
good.
Classic.
But who's your crack your beer player of the week this week there, Kevin?
Mine is Nico. This week he is batting .435 since Tuesday. He is
Ooh.
just on a tear. 10 hits out of 25 appearances. He's got a double, 3 runs, 2 RBIs. He looks great at the plate. He's been moving up the lineup, kind of stepping into that role that we see him taking in the future. I love it.
Who's yours there, Jake?
Well, okay, I can't decipher in the show notes. Were you going to take Morel?
You can take Morel. You can take
Okay,
him if you
so
want.
I really quickly I want to pull up his week here because I was really impressed. So he'd been scuffling in the leadoff spot, and I'm really impressed with how he handled being put in the 9-hole. And I think what did he do today? You guys know offhand?
It was 0 for 2 with 3 walks.
Yeah, he had a
Okay.
walks.
Yeah.
I'll take 3 walks
Absolutely.
for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to pull up this last week. So I'm pulling up June 26th to the 3rd because Fangraphs doesn't have today's stats in yet. So this, I think, like counts for days that he was not in the 9-hole. Yeah. So starting the 29th and 30th, he batted 9th, and he was first again. Batted leadoff again in the first game of the Boston series. So in this stretch, he was 10 for 32, 2 doubles, 3 home runs. 8 RBI, K rate at 37.5%, which is a little up there. But overall, 333 average, 375 OBP, 700 slug, good for a 193 WRC plus. So the walks that he took today are definitely going to help him out in the long run. I think we've seen spurts where he's been a good, he's had a good eye at the plate. He's only 22. It's going to still take time. Hopefully we see a good eye versus, flailing away at stuff. But I just think that, like, props to Rossi for moving him down, and props to him for taking it in stride and producing. He didn't let it get to him. I think that's what we could kind of, based on the sample that we have of Morel in the majors, I think that you could have predicted that he would handle it well. I mean, he's a positive dude, just wants to be out there playing the game. So I'm taking Morel. I like how he handled it. And I don't know where he fits in long-term, but I'm glad that he's on the team this year.
Right. I think he fits anywhere he wants to play almost.
Yeah, I mean, really. Yeah, I will say I don't expect him to be an everyday player on a competing team, or at least an everyday player that you can pencil or, like, put in black ink, like, oh, he's our everyday second baseman. But he's going to be a great piece to have, a Chris Taylor type piece to have for this Cubs team.
Kevin, give us a little breakdown of the week sent to kind of get us in perspective and get us ready to talk through some of these games and some of these players.
Yeah. Starting Wednesday, the Cubs won versus the Reds. Gotta love that. 8-3. Thursday, they also won versus the Reds, 15-7. That one was interesting. They got up big and then kind of gave up some runs later on in the game, but they were up so big it didn't matter. Friday against the Red Sox, they won 6-5. That one was a very interesting game towards the end. Saturday, 3-1 win versus the Red Sox. Gotta love it. Winning another series. Fortunately, they lost on Sunday, 2-4 in extras. And then today they lost 2-5 in extras versus the Brewers. And as we brought up, Victor Caratini hitting bombs. Just seems to be a thing.
And so the Cubs have lost now back-to-back extra inning games and now are 3-8 overall in extras. How are we feeling about that? Like, I honestly, every time it goes into extras, I am not confident at all that we're going to win the game. It's like, because we're always like, I think like Joey Ricotta put out that we're close, but we're not there yet. Like, the way he put it out there was like, it was perfect. Cause it was like, we are so close to being a decent team, but we don't have the clutch guys yet that we can really count on to push us to the next level. And that's where, like, so often this year we've been caught in that type of situation and we lose these close games. Besides that 1 week where we got blown out by the Yankees and the week where it was just horrible, we've been in every single one of these games, and it's the clutch hit. It's the guys stepping up when we really need it. And so, I mean, in extras, I just do not feel confident at all.
Well, in yesterday's extra innings, you had Rowan Wick pitching, and he looked really good. And he was doing, I saw he was the one they were throwing out there in extras, I was like, oh no, like, we're done, like, game's over. But then he held it together, and then it was the second extra inning he came out for, and he almost got through that one too. Oh, just frustrating. I think we're like one reliever away.
When did because I know it was a pivotal moment. When did was it earlier in the game when Morel dropped the fly ball, the pop-up on the end?
Yeah. Well, and it was Rivas who dropped it. They were both next to each other.
They're both, but
miscommunication.
That's that was the first run. Yeah, kind of basically it was the first run.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. That's okay. So I am just kind of like thinking about Wick before I get into the extra innings thing. I am pretty out on Rowan Wick. I haven't looked at his StatCast data, but his ERA, like, month over month, has just gotten considerably worse. I don't feel any confidence in him when he comes in the game. funny enough, like I think we talked about it on the podcast. I know I've talked to some people about it. I tweeted about it. He switched his glove this season in the middle of
to
the
44.
Season. What to 40? That's the brand. Yeah.
Yeah, because I have a 44 Pro glove. He switched to it.
But the thing that I noticed, and tell me if you noticed this too, it looks like a freaking softball glove out there.
It's huge,
massive. And I was listening. This is where it pays off to listen to the national podcasts, like the fantasy podcasts. I think it was Kevin Gossman who switched to a literal softball glove because he was something about his smaller glove. Like it was causing him to tip pitches. Right. So he switched to a bigger glove. And I kind of wonder if something like that was happening with Wick. But then when I first noticed that he had this new glove, he does the glove tap.
Yeah.
And it almost felt like he was like catching his finger like on the his hand on the longer glove when he debuted this new glove, and he wasn't used to it. And I could tell like that game, I was like, there's something about this game that he's just like not locking in. And I was like, it's the glove. Just like, it's got to be the shoes. It's got to be the glove.
It got to be
right.
But I don't know. I think he's got stuff clearly.
Mm-hmm.
His location has not been good. And he just, I don't know, man. There was a point like at the beginning of this season where I thought that, Wick could be the closer of the future still.
Right.
And I am so out on that narrative. I don't think that I by the end of the season, if our bullpen arms in the minors, I haven't checked on them in a while, but if they're still showing up, I think a future of the Cubs, there's a Cubs future that exists without Rowan Wick.
Yep. I do think that they might hand the keys to him when they trade Robertson, just to see what they have, like with him being the man, the second half. I could see them handing the keys for a short time. I mean, they need to put him in the night and see what happens,
right? Especially
this season. But I'm with you. I'm kind of out. I don't see him being. He just doesn't have the stuff that's like elite ninth inning guy that you can like trust in the ninth inning. That you're like, okay, we can lock this up like a Hater or like a Robertson. Like to have those guys that you can feel pretty confident that 9 times out of 10 they're going to do the job. One time, they might give up like today and not get the job done. So I do want to get
go ahead. No, I before we wrap up on Wick, I have
say yours then.
Okay. So again, going back to, my dog is going crazy with this Twitter right now, of course. Going back to dude, really?
Hey, puppy.
Come on. Going back to listening to national podcasts. I want to plug one that is fantasy focused, but so it's part of the Athletic Fantasy Baseball show. It's called Under the Radar.
Okay.
One of the hosts is Ian Kahn, who's an actor. He was in Turn. He played George Washington in the AMC series. I think it's AMC Turn, but he's a great analyst. And because he's an actor, he has this thing that he says, like, he really reads the body language of players. And he's talked about, so he's a big Yankees fan, and he's talked about how like he doesn't trust the body language of guys like Jamison Tyone and Garrett Cole. Like, yes, Garrett Cole is dominant, but Garrett Cole has mannerisms on the mound where he just seems kind of like unsure of himself. You look at Rowan Wick and like the dude seems unsure of himself. Like,
right.
I could point
fired
back.
Up.
I could even point to the incident with Joey Votto.
Yeah. Yes.
What did he do? What did he do when Joey Votto started chirping at him when he started going down the line? Rowan Wick went and looked into the Cubs dugout. Like he needed like a dad to approve him to like say something back. It's like, no, like you're a man out there on the mound. If you want to like chirp back at him, you have permission. But like he kept on looking in the dugout, like, it's like you're unsure of yourself.
And you can't have that as a closer, man.
No,
you've got to have like look at I don't know. His season started kind of rough, but like, look at Liam Hendricks, dude. That dude is out there, and he is a.
He ain't looking into a dugout. He'll be
no. He's throwing haymakers. I mean, maybe verbal haymakers, but that guy, like, that's who you want closing, regardless of what happened the previous batter or whatever. The dude's nails, and he's gonna be like. So it just is. I don't know. Rowan Wick seems too tentative. Maybe he proves me wrong before the end of the season, but that's kind of my read on his physicality out there on the mound.
His like vibe.
Yeah, I like it. I do want to give Joey Ricotta. This is what his tweet was actually. They battle, they struggle to finish, and that's like perfect of what like the Cubs have been the last 2 days, and for a lot of the season where they battle. I mean, that they're going to be in every game. You're going to get their best. They're going to perform as well as they possibly can. Especially these young guys. They battle, but a lot of times they just struggle to finish because one, they don't know how to win yet. And that's what I will say this, what is great to see is that our minor leagues, we're seeing teams like the Pelicans who won the first half are going to be in the playoffs. They are creating a culture just like the Cubs did back in the day with the young, with the minor leagues, of creating a culture that knows how to win. And so I am excited about most of our minor league teams, besides like the Iowa Cubs have struggled, are winning a lot of games and they're going to be in playoffs. And so that's good to see. And just that culture coming through, they just need to figure out how to win. But let's get into this last week in certain players. You brought up Christopher Morel. He had 3 straight games where he hit a home run Friday, and not just a home run, absolute tanks.
Right.
Friday, 436 foot bomb. Thursday, 440. Wednesday, 429. Just been on an absolute tear. He had a 5 for 5 day in there. I want to see him in the lineup every day. I love that he can play everywhere. I could see him possibly being kind of a Zobrist type player that moves all over the place. It's going to be, can he keep performing at the dish and sustain that for not just this year, but multiple years? That's where it's going to be is we've seen players that have really good rookie seasons. And then the next season, teams figure him out. Can he sustain this, and can he cut his strikeout down a little bit? That's a big thing for me with Morel.
I thought it was really telling though that he got moved to the end of the lineup, and it's kind of one of those like, oh, okay, I see this. He's going to move to the end of the lineup, probably scuffle a little bit, and then he's going to end up back at he's going to end up at Iowa, not back at Iowa. He hasn't even gone to Iowa yet, but he's going to end up at Iowa to work on things. But then he gets moved to the back of the lineup. And that day I was like, I picked him for my dinger pick because I was like, maybe he's mad. He'll hit one. And then he did. And then he just went on a tear. And it's like, okay, if you can figure it out, like by just getting pushed back in the lineup and then get through the struggling and bring that strikeout rate down, like you brought up, like that's fantastic that he's doing that at the big league level as a rookie.
And that's what we need to see, right? Like that's the big thing that's been missing with this Cubs team is development at the major league level. We've talked about it on the show before. I know I've harped on it, but it's only one case, right? Like it's only one case. We haven't seen that for Nick Madrigal. I think the jury's still kind of out on Alfonso Rivas, whether he's like, maybe he's a bench bat, but I'm not totally sold on him. It's finally happening with Ian Happ, but at the same time, like I know that he had some off-season instruction. He had to go to work on his own. And he's also 27 years old. So you'd like to see that development happening, when players are 24, 25. Like 22 is great with Morel, but like that shouldn't be the expectation. Nonetheless, it's great to see it. It's great to see the adjustments being made. I wonder how much of it is having Contreras there as a mentor. I mean, I don't know. Like obviously we've seen the connection there.
I wish Contreras would have taken his own advice and just took a big breath today.
Oh my God, tonight, right?
Right.
And so like kind of going back to the extra innings thing, despite Robertson's breakdown there in the ninth, I still like. Typically this season, like I've felt that yeah, like things go into the extra innings, or like it's a close game, and at the end. I haven't felt confident since like the first week. I think we won some close games in like the first week of the season, but something about tonight, like I felt good. Maybe it was Seiya being back in the lineup and him having a good game.
That's true.
I would have really liked to see him get another at bat. He was next in the lineup.
Yeah. Oh. I just think that Wilson and Happ striking out in a bases loaded situation like that was brutal. I mean, that was classic Cubs, right? Like that's like what we've been seeing the last few years, and that's what we need to break out of. That's the problem right now.
Happ's at bat, he just got out chest played. Like he did. Like that changeup absolutely fooled him for strike 2, and then you could tell. You talk about reading people's body language. You could read Ian Happ's body language as he stepped out and stepped back into the batter's box. He was guessing the whole time. He had no idea between the fastball and the changeup what was coming. He was guessing, and he guessed that he was going to come with another changeup, and it was a fastball. Like you could just tell, like that second strike changeup absolutely just fooled Ian Happ. He was so out in front of that thing. And I was like, no, this at bat's over. Like, yeah, you can just see it. The one thing I do want to bring up is Nelson Velasquez. We've seen him in the order, and not only making contributions on the offense, but his arm out in the outfield has stopped so many runs from players advancing or scoring. Like when Morel threw out the guy, I can't remember what night that was. If it was Friday, Saturday, Sunday, one of the days. Mm-hmm. Morel threw out a guy at home. I think it was Friday night.
That sounds right.
The play before it, though, they hit a ball to Velasquez, and he came up firing, and they chose not to run on him.
Yeah. Yep.
One, probably because they didn't know who he was. They're like, oh, we don't quite know this. And he threw an absolute seed right there. Mm-hmm. And they're like, oh, we'll test Morel on the next one. Nope. But like, you could see it. Even when he played center today, he had one that he would have gunned the guy at third base. Like, he has a cannon, but not only that, he's been hitting the ball. Had his first home run today. Is up to 313. I know it's small sample size, but just playing great ball. I was going to ask Jake to come up with players who've played right field, their stats combined versus Jason Hayward's stats when he's played in right field, defense and offense. Because I guarantee you the WAR difference on players besides Jason Hayward in right field is just crazy.
I mean, it's Jason Hayward. We've talked about it. Everybody's talked about it, beating a dead horse, but Jason Hayward is a black hole in this Cubs lineup.
Do you think it
doesn't matter?
Dave Kaplan came out and said that he thinks that Jason Hayward has played his last game for the Cubs. Do you think?
Nope. I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to happen right now. What's his phantom injury? I don't even know what his phantom
something with his knee
is.
Something with his legs. Yeah. Knee.
Yeah. I saw that and I was like, interesting. But that doesn't jive with the comments from Ross about, man, I'm lost the word, but
the loyalty,
loyalty. That was the word he used. Yep. Like he'll be back at some point and he'll draw a frustrating number of starts. Yeah. But I agree. When I was a little worried when, was it when Bodie was coming back, who was going to get outed? And I was a little worried it was going to be Velasquez, but I'm glad he stayed and he's playing well through it.
Well, and now with
somebody else.
Now with Seiya back in right field, you can move Velasquez and Ortega to kind of share time out in center. And then you can move Morel to second, which we've seen, especially with Bodie getting smoked by Horner the other day. Hopefully he isn't too bad of an injury, but like now we can move guys around, put people in better spots. Cause I think Morel he came up as a third baseman. Shortstop, more of an infielder. I know he's had some struggle a little bit with, like, he had a drop ball they battled the Sun with on was it Sunday?
Yeah,
Him
yesterday.
Yesterday.
And Rivas. Yep.
But I mean, that happens. Like
Mhm.
that happens
I
sometimes.
think the Reds had dropped a ball just the half inning before that.
Yep.
Same thing in the infield.
I think so, yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. You look at these young guys like Velasquez that come up. They aren't scared with the moment. They're performing. They're doing what I kind of expect of them. They aren't overperforming. I would say Morel's overperformed, but they're doing. But this is just the tip of the iceberg here. Like we have 5 in the top 100 prospects with Davis, PCA, Hernandez, Alcantara, and Killian. And then we have the number 7 pick in the draft this year. Next year, we're going to have another probably top 10 pick.
Right.
And we have a ton of money to go wild in free agency, which Crane Kenny, if you can trust anything that he says, has said that we're going to spend this offseason. So, I mean, I do have to get a little bit excited about our future. It's just who's going to be there. Is Velasquez a guy that you think plays into our future?
Maybe.
I don't know. When you look at the outfield mix that we have coming, like maybe he ends up a 4th outfielder. And that's even tough to say because, like, I hope they hold on to Happ at this deadline.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've got Happ and Seiya, and then you've got Brennan Davis and PCA coming through the pipeline, like that's a crowded mix. I don't know. The one thing I do, like, I was curious though. I looked this up while we were talking about it because we mentioned Ortega getting some more playing time and splitting time with Velasquez. So Ortega's been on a tear.
Yeah.
Yes.
Kind of like it's kind of been under the radar a little bit. I think yes, it's been talked about. Like I see it on Cubs Twitter, but since June 3rd, I picked June 3rd because he went 3 for 5 that day. And he started getting more consistent playing time, like, I don't know, like in the Yankees series kind of is when he started getting more playing time. So he is batting 286 or 282, 369 OBP, 451 slugging for a 128 WRC plus, 22.5% strikeout rate, 11.8% walk rate.
Right.
He's led off a little bit more, hitting in the middle of the order a lot. Only 2 home runs, but like you don't really expect him to be a home run hitter. So how many games is this? It's not giving me the game count here. Hang on a second. So this is 24 games, 12 RBI, 6 doubles. I mean, like, I think we're going to talk a little bit about trade deadline value, but he's kind of playing into exactly what we hoped he would in being a good left-handed bat to advertise at the deadline. And I don't know if we get much. Like, maybe look what we got for Jock Peterson. We got Bryce Ball, who last I checked is still tearing it up in the minors. If Ortega is playing better defense and offense right now than Jock was last year, could we get a piece that's a couple slots higher than a Bryce Ball? Maybe. And that's not nothing, man. Like that's pretty good. So I want to give a little shout out to Raffy there for having a streak going right now.
Well, you bring up trade value. So let's get into our bullpen. Because our bullpen has been performing a lot better as of late. They went through a little stretch where they struggled, but we've seen some guys like Givens performing a lot better, Martin performing a lot better. Where do you see, or what could you see us getting from them from the deadline? Like if we were to make a trade, what type of prospect rating would we get? Would we get a top 15 prospect? Would we get what do you guys think? Would we get anything like we got for Chafin and DePera last year?
maybe. I think that might be a little bit of a stretch, maybe, because Chafin and Tepera had been such a combo at that time, and they had been, I don't know, I think they had been another step higher because, a few weeks ago, and every time Michael Givens came in the game, I immediately started like throwing my hands in the air, like, oh, this game's over. Like, I had no belief that he was going to play well. But the last like week, really, him and Martin have kind of come together, and it's good to see. And I think potentially the right team who needs those types of arms might be willing to give up something. I'm not sure that it would be that high of a prospect, but Cubs are also used to taking a chance on a high flyer and seeing what would happen. I don't know. What do you think, Jake?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at Daniel Palencia's numbers right now, which is who we got back for Chafin, and June numbers look good. May numbers really good. 4 starts, a 1.38 ERA, 0.92 WHIP, 13 strikeouts in 13 innings. So he's a pretty solid strikeout guy. I mean, he's at high A right now. He's just now upped his workload he just hit 5 innings for the first time this season on June 16th. Gave up 3 earned runs, 5 strikeouts. So, I mean, if you can get a guy of that caliber, though, I mean, I think he was a higher rated prospect in the A's system. Like I think you said, Mitch, like top 15.
Yeah.
I'll have to double check that. But I think that really anything that you can get for these guys is good. And I trust the Cubs scouting department to know. Like it seems like all the trades. So he was Palencia this year is, according to Fangraphs, is the Cubs' 20th ranked prospect, which is solid, especially in the system that we replenished last year. I don't know. I mean, I agree with what Kevin said. Like Tepera and Chafin last year were, I mean, Tepera, Chafin, Kimbrel last year was like
that was lights out,
like lockdown, right? Mm-hmm. And Chafin's a lefty, so. Who's Daniel Norris was the lefty? Did we DFA him? I don't even know where is he on the IL. I honestly don't even know where he is right now. But he was intriguing at the beginning of the season, but I feel like he's fallen off. Chris Martin is maybe starting to straighten things out a little bit, but it might be what did I say? Too late. Too I don't know. Whatever. It's too late. Yeah, it might be a little too late. Too little, too late. There it is. I think Robertson's going to be the biggest fetch. But Norris is on the 15-day IL. Kevin, thanks for that. Okay. Yep. Yeah, I don't know. Obviously they have no future with the Cubs. They're not as good as the trio that we had last year, but
no,
we'll get something. Mm-hmm. We'll get some kind of flyer, and that's better than nothing.
What do you think we'll get for David Robertson?
We're not gonna get a Madrigal Hoyer haul. Like that's not. And I know Cubs fans are down on that right now. I still think the jury's out. I still believe in Madrigal to be a high average bat.
And Hoyer, I think, is going to be.
I think he's going to be fantastic.
I think Hoyer is going to be very good as well. I don't think we get anywhere near that with Robertson. He has a good track record, right? But he's also coming off of Tommy John.
I think.
But again, we go into the body language, and I like him. I like him in the ninth.
Yep. He's got good vibe when he's out there. He's got a good presence.
He knows what he's doing. He's calm. I think he talks to himself a little bit, which I kind of like seeing. Which I like. Maybe he's diagnosing or like talking to himself how he's going to attack on the next pitch. Like I like that. And obviously the veteran presence. I mean, that goes to be. Put that into the equation too. Like that guy's been through a lot, played for some really competitive teams. I don't know. Like, I'd be really happy with a top 10 prospect. Mm-hmm. Get a top 10 prospect, a team's top 10 prospect, and then a top 20 guy. Like that, if we could get 2 prospects, I think that'd be sick.
Right.
I also predict that he goes to the Twins. The Twins bullpen's been a mess. It's the Twins or the Red Sox, I think, for Robertson.
Yep. Yep. I was kind of in the same boat. Somebody who the bullpen's a little bit of a mess and they don't have the guy at the end of their relief pitching.
Okay, so write that down. So then nearing trade deadline that we can dig into their prospect list and figure out who we would want from them. Because I mean, he's going to bring back something. They're going to trade him. And he's been in some playoffs. He's been through it. He's played for the Yankees. I know Yankees fans really want him back. When I was on one of the Yankees podcasts, they want him back.
They don't need him. They don't. Need
No,
him.
they don't. But they wanted him. They're like, man, we'd take him.
Best pitcher in baseball right now.
Yep.
I will say though, like talking about the Twins, this will not happen. If this happens, this will not happen. But comparing it to the Kimbrel trade, we got Madrigal, who was out for the rest of the season. I don't even know if this like fits the needs, but if we could package someone with Robertson, I don't know who. And get Royce Lewis back from the Twins, who's out with another ACL injury, which like that sucks. Obviously, being a big Derrick Rose fan, the knee injuries, kind of make me really sad. But Royce Lewis, when he was up this season, looked damn good. It's a pipe dream. There's no chance of that happening. But I just thought it was kind of a funny parallel that they have a really good prospect on the IL for a long stint right now too.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I saw that Craig Kimbrel got hit by a ball the other night, and I was like half hoping that he went to the IL. Not like out for the season, but just a little bit by the trade deadline that they might want him. So the Cubs could maybe, but I don't want to play games with Friedman. Is it who's their GM? Not Fried. What's his name? He's with Tampa, and then he went to what's his name? Starts with F. Oh, but I wouldn't want to play games with him because I think he would rob the Cubs blind, and I don't want to do that.
It's Andrew Friedman. You were right.
Friedman, yeah, Andrew Friedman. Yeah, I was right. Good job, Mitch.
I looked up Dodgers GM, and Brandon Gomes came up. Wait a minute.
Come on, Google.
Wait a minute. So maybe he's the general manager, and Friedman is the
it might be president of baseball.
President of baseball. But we do have some guys coming back. Seiya came back today. He got me a dinger pick. Yeah. That's right, with the inside the park home run. You gotta love that. He was 4 for 9 down in Iowa with a dinger, 2 doubles, reached base 6 times, which is absolutely killing it down there. So I'm excited. He was going through a stretch there right before the injury where the league had kind of figured him out a little bit. He was going through a struggle, like kind of we expected and talked about. So I wonder if he used that time to kind of dig into the tape, dig into video, and figure out what they were doing, how they were attacking him. I mean, no better time to make adjustments than when you're injured and you can just sit there and watch tape and figure it out. So hopefully I'm expecting big things the second half of the season from Seiya, and I expect him to be in right field every day. Stroman pitched for Iowa last night, pitched 2 2/3 innings, 7 hits, 5 runs, 2 Ks, 1 base on ball. That's the first of, I think, a couple that he's going to pitch down in Iowa. Just trying to get him back on the mound. So I wouldn't read too much into the stats there. 7 of the hits against Stroman were on ground balls. So it's not a great line, but he didn't get any help from the defense or any luck there. Because I think they just found their way through the infield. Drew Smiley is coming back from oblique. He's expected to do a rehab stint in South Bend. He'll be on a 50 pitch limit. Wade Miley, I haven't heard where he's at, but we still got some guys that we need to come back, especially like the one that I'm really wanting to come back is Drew Smiley, because he's again another trade piece that has pitched well for the Cubs, and I think they could get something for him. I think there's a lot of teams out there that, especially with this extra playoff spot, that might need a 5th starter to push towards the playoffs. He might be a guy that teams might be interested in. We could get something for. So, or they could package him with one of the bullpen guys, or package him with, somebody, Contreras, and get a little bit more. So it's just stuff like that. Like I wish Wade Miley was healthy and pitching, and we could do the same with him. But we do have a lot of guys coming back. Haven't heard if Hayward is coming back anytime soon.
Nah. Nope. He should be good. He's good. He had a great career.
The minors, I do want to highlight one minor league player, James Triantos. I think he just homered again.
Mm-hmm.
He's been on a little bit of a tear. He's had 3 straight games with a home run. The last 2 weeks, he's hitting 326, 396, 651. 5 home runs in those games. Just absolutely on a tear. He's one that I'm excited to kind of watch as he progresses through the minors and seeing how he can kind of fit in this Cubs lineup. He's playing a lot of third base right now. I don't know if he sticks there, if he moves over second. It's going to be kind of depending on where we go. And as we get closer to the trade deadline, and especially the offseason, we'll be talking about who the Cubs could pick up. One guy was in town this weekend that we could possibly pick up in free agency is Xander Bogaerts.
Mm-hmm.
He's one that I would love to have playing shortstop and move Nico Horner, who's one of the best shortstop defenders in the league, move over to second base and be the best second base defender in the league. So I don't know. We have a lot to kind of come up and talk about in the future. We can save those discussions for then. Looking ahead,
a busy month. I think it's going to be a busy month as we get up to August 2nd.
Yep. Which we'll have, what's his name? We're going to have somebody on talking the draft here in the next couple weeks, because the draft is coming up on July. When is the draft?
That's a good question.
I think it's July 17th. So next week, not this Sunday, but the following Sunday. So we will have somebody on to kind of talk prospects of who we could possibly draft in the draft, or even afterwards about who we drafted coming on. And then I have talked to the Iowa Cubs, and Steven Brault just got assigned to the Iowa Cubs. We might be having him on the podcast. He's one that I think he's one great on podcasts.
Yeah,
but he's not a bad pitcher. And I could see when the Cubs make some trades, that's when they bring him back into the fold.
I would get him for that.
So even when I talk to them, they think that he's going to be there for about a month. That's what they expect, to work on some things, get back into shape, kind of use it as a second spring training. Ramping back up, and then towards the end of the season, see him with the big league club. He was interested in coming on. So some exciting things to kind of look ahead.
I think he goes on the Rose rotation.
He does.
That effectively gives us 2 degrees of separation from John Boy.
Again,
we're right there.
We're right there.
That's funny.
Yeah. Do you guys have anything else? I mean, looking ahead, the Cubs are in Milwaukee right now. Then they go to LA, out to the Dodgers, and then next week, Baltimore and in New York at home. So, I mean, anytime you go out to the West Coast.
I really quickly just want to touch on how damn good Thompson and Steele were this weekend.
Oh, yes.
Right.
We don't have to go into I don't have any stats or anything, but watching Steele pitch today, he was carving up that lineup, man. He looked so sharp. He was hitting his targets. The breaking balls were on. I am getting more and more confident in Steele as a starting pitcher with each pass, and Thompson for that matter.
Yep.
Right.
With those guys being long-term starters, every time through the rotation, they are getting stronger. And it has been really fun to watch.
In the fact with Thompson, he's learned a new pitch in the middle of the season.
The slider.
And incorporating it very slowly, but still working it into his repertoire, and it's only making him a better pitcher. Right. So I can't wait until he has a whole off season to work and tweak that pitch and come back next year even better. Just think about the amount of time that he can actually work on developing a pitch in between starts.
Yeah.
And think about being able to do it in an off season.
And talk about body language. That's the theme of this episode. We should just,
Right.
the title of this episode, body language.
Yep.
Those guys just like ice in their veins, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like those guys are out there and they are ready to pitch, as my cat jumps in for the finale here.
I will say I don't like, sometimes I get frustrated with Steele.
Yeah.
His body language. When things are going bad, you can tell things are going bad by the way he carries himself and the way he gets super, like he gets angry, which you can, like, yeah, you shouldn't be happy when things, but it's like, you can't carry that over when you're on the mound. Like you have to like lock it back in when you're getting ready. Like I wish you would stop doing that a little bit.
Yeah. Like, yeah, that is true. It's for Steele. It's more so when he's on, you can tell in the body language, but Thompson, that dude is, I mean, and he seems like just a great dude. Like I want to be friends with Keegan Thompson, throwing it out there.
Yeah.
I will say, like, and I talked about, I think 2 episodes ago, the difference between us being ahead of the Pirates or being like a couple games back of the Cardinals and Brewers, I think comes down to our starting pitching. 100%. If we would have a better starting pitching this year, we would be right there. We would be where kind of we all expected us to be, just on the outside of the playoffs, or like maybe they're knocking on the door. But because we haven't had consistent pitching, because we haven't had Hendricks good. I mean, the last couple starts, he was great the other night. He's been getting better, which trade value only going up. But we haven't had him. We haven't had Stroman there at all. We haven't had Miley. And really Thompson's been legit all year, just a lot of it in the bullpen. Steele's just picked it up the last like 4 or 5 starts. So I am liking our rotation better. And you can even tell, like this last week, when we got good starting pitching that kept us close into games, in our bullpen is just decent. We win ball games or in ball games. So like we're right there. So, but yeah, Steele absolutely just nails today. Just filthy. I think he had 9 strikeouts, which was 1 away from tying his career high.
That's correct. Yeah. 9 and 6 2/3. And I also I am fine that Rossi extended his leash a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm fine with it. I think he did well. I mean, I think he handled it relatively well. And then Hughes came in and shut the door, which was awesome experience for him too. So
yeah. Hughes, I think, did a really good job today.
Yeah. Hopefully we can keep up our starting pitching, especially when we start getting Smiley back and getting Stroman back, just to see what we got. Especially I just want to see with Stroman, like I want to see some good starts out of him.
Yeah.
I want to see.
We need to see it.
I mean, he was such a big signing, and I think for the morale of Cubs off season, he held us together by that signing. And then this year, without seeing him really do much of anything to help us win any games, I really want to see him come on the field and just for himself see some success this year and not have it be just a wasted season for him. So hopefully we can see him bounce back and do that. So we can talk about some good things from Stroman and some wins. But yeah, heading out to LA. So hopefully it's a 4-game set with LA after 2 games with Milwaukee, facing a lot of first place teams or close to first place teams. So hopefully we can play some good baseball this week on the road. But yeah, that does it for episode 88 of the Dingers podcast. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at Dinger Cubs. Yeah. Thanks for joining us. Thanks guys.
Have a good one.